Evening, everybody. I did go down to Joann's, and like I said, I did pick up a couple patterns, but I also got this. It's little gnomes, but it's like a nautical theme, which my husband worked on a ship for the government, so I wanted to get that to make him some pajama pants. Just a tip for you, if you go to different places, I usually go to Hobby Lobby to get my material, but if you get it someplace else, put a little tag on it where you got it, and that way if you need more, you always know, okay, I got this at Joann's. I got this for my daughter. She loves the sugar skulls, and I'm gonna make her some pajama pants. And then I got this. It's just like a white flowery. It's almost like eyelet, but it's not opened. So I'll make a shirt out of that. And then tonight we're gonna do Butterick B5792. It's this one. And this is the material I got. So I thought that was real pretty. So I have to cut this out. I got the pattern cut out. I have to cut out my fabric, and I'll get that done, and then we'll start sewing. I just wanted to give you another hint. Have 2 pairs of scissors. One for a pattern and one for your sewing. So like these are my ones for the pattern, because it does dull your scissors out cutting the paper all the time. So that's a little tip. And I did get some more of my snaps for my shirt, so I'm gonna be putting those on tonight. I'll see how far I get. It's starting to storm here. The thunder's way off right now. But as soon as it gets near, I shut my machine off. I can't afford to lose it. So let me get this going and get this pattern cut out, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so the first thing you need is your number 8, and that's your front piece. Now I'm gonna put a safety pin in each piece so I know these are the front. And I usually do that with everything that I sew, just so I know. Okay, this does not have a tie. It's just elastic, but I like the looks of the tie. So once I get the front and the back done, I'm going to measure and see where I can put a buttonhole. Now you don't have to do that unless you want to. I just like the looks of the tie. And then just get your back piece, which is number 9. And we're gonna sew a front and a back together at the inner seam. So your inner seam is the one with the dip right here. Get a piece that matches. Let's see, this one's gonna match. Okay, and you do have a notch, so you can match up your notch here. Okay, I'm gonna do something a little different tonight. After I sew up my seam, well, I'll do that later, but I'll show you. It's where I'm gonna use my overcast foot and just hem up this side seam. Well, almost kind of like serge it. Okay, so you're gonna do this to both pieces at 5/8. So you're just gonna sew 5/8 seam allowance down this seam and then do your next one. And remember, always start with your needle down. Be sure you're on straight and just sew downwards. Okay, now we're gonna sew up the U. So the first thing you want to do is pin your seam. And then pin your notches. So you should have a set of singles on the front side and double on the back. So pin these up. This is a 5/8. Just match everything up. Be sure you're even on your edges. And your top is even. And then when you get done with this, you're gonna sew 5/8 around all the way. Then from notch to notch, you can either go in the same seam or you can go about a 1/4 inch away from it. Okay, and I'm making a size 12. I just like a little bit baggier pajama pants that they're not skin tight on me. All right, so just start sewing 5/8 needle down. So notch to notch, I usually just take off half this seam. Okay, now I'm gonna open this up and I'll show you how I'm gonna do my buttonholes for the tie. Like I said, this doesn't come with it, but I like the tie on it. So this is my front piece. Here's my safety pins. Okay, let me get the pattern. You can open the rest of this up too, this seam. Okay, there's my front piece. Okay, my front piece is going to be about 1 1/4 fold. So what I do is I'm going to just fold this down. That way I know where my edge is going to be for the elastic. Okay. Then fold down about 1 1/4 or, okay, 1 1/4. Just so you're right, like near the seam, so you know that's 1 1/4. Okay, flip it over. Okay, so now you have a spot where you want to put your buttonholes. Let me see if I got a pin. And I'm going to make these about 3/4 of an inch away from that middle seam. So right in here. Right here. Okay, so then you're going to open this up because you don't want to sew that. So here's my, I get 3/4. Okay, and then come down about a 1/2 inch and mark this. It's 3/4 away, 1/2 inch, and just kind of make a line. 1/2 inch is right here. Okay. And you would start right here where you're making your buttonhole. Okay, so let me bring this closer and you can see it. Okay, so I opened everything back up. So you're gonna go sideways with your button, and this is a 1/2 inch down, and this is where that 3/4 is away from your middle seam. Oops, sorry. So where those dots are, right here and right here, this is where I'm going to start my buttonholes. So then once I get done and we sew this up, they will be right here. So let me make my buttonholes and I'll be right back. I always make a buttonhole, and I'm going to put a little piece of interfacing on those spots. But I always just make a buttonhole on a piece of scrap just to be sure that it's working right, because that's the worst thing if you have your buttonhole gets messed up. I don't know where I put my pin, but this is probably white. Yeah. Black, see if that works. So what I do is I put a pin right where I want to start. There's my line. So once I drop my foot down, I want to get right next to that pin, and then I pull it out, and then I start making my buttonhole. Okay, right here. So once you have that made, just take your seam ripper, not with thread on it, And I don't usually hit right at the end. I'll go in just a little from the edges and just push through. And then you have your buttonhole. Okay, let me go make mine on these. I gotta put a little interfacing on, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my buttonholes right here. Okay, now we're going to pin and sew our side seams. Match your notches. And this is a 5/8. And then once we get this done, we'll make our casing for the elastic. And I'm gonna have to make a tie also. Okay. All right, so on your side seams, 5/8 all the way down on both sides. Okay, now we're gonna turn under a 1/4 inch on this raw side, or the raw edge on your waist. And then we'll turn down, let me see what it says, maybe 1.25 inches. An inch, so probably 1.25 inches will turn down. But on the top, turn down your 1/4. And then we'll turn down 1.25 and pin this or clip it. And just have your seams open. Now this is a real easy pattern. It's a standard, quick pattern to do. But it's a pretty cute outfit. And I'm going to use some of my stitch wickery to keep my seams down. You can just open up your seam. Witchery. I don't know why I keep messing it up, but this is witchery. That's what it is. Let me see if I can find mine without opening. Yeah. And it's just a very thin tape. And I'm going to bring it down just about a little past where my hem's gonna be. And on each side, I put this down, and that way when you start putting your safety pin through, it doesn't try to go in through this seam. Just get it right in there. And then just put back your 1/4 inch seam. Okay, and go to your next seam and do that. And this stuff is like $2.99, and it goes a long ways. Okay, so just put back your 1/4 inch. Okay, now we're gonna turn down 1 1/4. So if you did buttonholes like I did, you don't have to leave a space for your elastic because you'll go through that buttonhole. If you didn't, you have to leave a space for the elastic to come through. I suggest you do it on the back seam, not the front seam. So just get your seam even and get your little ruler and set it for 1 1/4. And press it and pin or clip. Ooh, the iron's hot tonight. Okay, 1 1/4. And do this all the way around. And then you're gonna sew right at this fold. And if you want, you can stitch right at this fold, but you gotta keep yourself 1 inch leeway for your elastic. So just keep going around, measuring and pinning and pressing. And then sew this up, and I'll be back. I'm gonna make this a 2-part. So the first part's gonna be the pajama pants. The second part will be the shirt. That way it's not like a really huge long video. Okay, so sew right next to this fold all the way around if you did the buttonhole. If you didn't do the buttonholes on the back, let's see, that's the front, keep about 1.5 inches opening so you can get your elastic through, and then you'll have to come back and just sew this little piece once you get your elastic in. All right, let me get these sewn up. Okay, I have a bunch of 3/4 inch elastic that I want to use up. Yeah, it's a good, okay. So what I'm gonna do is just to take up the slack. I'm just gonna sew on the top all the way across. And that way it'll just give it a nice housing to sit in. So let me get that done real quick. Otherwise, I think it calls for 1 inch. Okay, now that I know this is my front, I'm taking out my safety pins because I need one to bring my elastic through. So just get your elastic and run it through. Then you're gonna have to try these on to see if you need to tighten or loosen your elastic. So just push it through. started here. I can get my hands to work tonight. Yes. Arthritis is terrible. Okay. So just run this through. And if you did the buttonholes, you want to come out the same hole with where you put your elastic in. You want to come out that same hole because you have to tack this elastic. So just bring this all through and then try them on quick, and I'll meet you back here. Okay, once you have that, overlap your elastic. Don't sew it like this because it'll give you a bump. If you sew it like this, it'll be like a nice straight, you won't have a bump. So what you're gonna do is sew this edge right here, and then sew this edge, and then sew straight down. Now, I usually put my work behind me, or I mean in front of me, and I kind of wrap my elastic around my foot shank, so it's not in my way. But then just go down and up a couple times. Get my pin out now. Okay, there's one. And then do this one back and forth a few times. And then just turn it over and come down, and it makes it look like you have an H. Okay, and then get your, okay, and then you just have to push this all in. Let me get this thread off. So it might take a little to get this through, but it will go through. You just have to keep working at it. Once you get it through, it's fine. Oh, I need my little, where's my little tweezers? I gotta open this up a little. Just kind of push that in with the tweezers. There we go. Okay, let me get this little piece in. There we go. Okay. And then just move the elastic around. Okay, now I got to make my tie. So, I have some scrap of this material from the side where I cut it. So I usually cut it about 2 inches wide, because I'm going to be using my little turner. So just find your scrap. I know I have a long, yeah. And I usually just go around my waist. So, okay. So I think I usually do like 65 inches or something like that. Alright, so let me get this. So 2 inches. Okay. So I'm just going to make this one 2 inches. Come back down 2 inches. Oh, that kind of went off a little. That's all right. Okay, then I'm going to cut this piece in half. I mean, you don't have to be perfect. It's a tie. And then you're going to sew these 2 pieces together. And I usually do 5/8. And then you're going to open up the seam. Okay, now I'll just try this around. So that's good. Okay, you're going to fold this in half all the way lengthwise. Get a little bit more water for my iron. Okay, and then you're going to sew up all along here, and you're going to sew one of your corners, and then all the way now. This is if you have the turner, which I'll show you. Okay, if you have this, and that will turn it to the right side. Now, if you don't, you can, if you did the buttonholes and you want the tie, you can make it just like the bias tape, which is, I'll show you on this piece. So you would have your piece, but wrong sides together. You fold it in half, and then bring this edge up to that crease. Bring the other one just about to the crease, and then put it all together, and then you would have a tie like this. If you're gonna do that, you first want to turn your edges, so you would have them turned like this so they're closed. Okay, so you would have them like they would be closed. Now, has a little piece of thread hanging out, but they would be closed. And you would do that on both sides and then sew up right at this fold where they're together. Okay, I'm gonna do this one. And once I get it sewn up, I'll show you how I use the turner. Okay, I forgot to hit the camera on. To make the tie, what I did is I took a 2-inch wide piece, folded it in half, right sides together, and then I went down one end and then up about 3/8 all the way along. Then I used my loop turner to turn the tie to the right side. And then on one end, you just push in, when you get it through, you push in the raw edge on one end and you just sew it, which I did right there. It has a little thread on it. Okay, then just take your safety pin and run your elastic through one buttonhole and then come out the other. Sorry, I thought I had the camera on. But I just think that makes these look a little bit cuter than just having them just a regular pant. Okay, so now we have the hem. And that's gonna be a 1/4 inch. You're gonna turn under. And I think it's an inch. Let's see, hemming, 1/4 inch. Okay, and then about an inch. And you're just gonna sew that. So I'll get this going. And it's usually easier if you put your pants inside out. And if you have the small ironing board, like this one, it's a sleeve board, but it just works so much easier for like legs and sleeves and all that. So just open up your seams. Turn under a 1/4 and then come back up an inch and pin, and then we'll sew. Okay, while you're doing that, I'm going to grab a cup of coffee. I need one after this loop turner. I had a little hard time getting it through, but I finally got it through. But at this time, if you could please like, share, subscribe, hit the little button for subscribe, and go check out the special video for July. We're almost there, and somebody get a free pattern. So I'm gonna go get my coffee, hem up my pants, and then I'll model them. And then for the top, I'm just gonna make part 2. That way the video isn't like really long. So then we'll get done with the pants, and then I'll just start a new video for the shirt or the top. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, so before you sew these, be sure that they're even. Okay, so just take your pants and fold them up. And those look even. Okay, so now go ahead and sew these up. Okay, everybody, here they are. I know it's hard to see, but And I just like the little tie. I just think it makes them a little bit more, not dressy, but I don't know. I just like it. Okay. You're gonna start hearing my bird. Okay, this was B5792, Butterick. Now, this was F, is the pants. I'm gonna cut out the top, which is A. And I'll get working on that for part 2. Now, A, you will need some 1/2 inch single fold bias tape. A and C, you'll need 3/4 inch eyelet beading trim. I might just use what I have. You know, you have to do that sometimes. And 2.5 yards of 1/4 inch ribbing for the beading going across. So that's the top. Okay, and I'm making, like I said, a size 12. And we'll get those started. I just got to cut them out. I was going to use my overcast on my seams. It makes it look like they're serged, but my seams are fine. So I'm just going to leave them like they are. Okay, so let me get that started. And like I said, I got this material at Joann's this week. And like I said before, if you go to different shops, be sure you tag which store you got it at. That way you can always go back if you've run out or if you need more. You're not saying, what store did I get this at, and go running around. So, you know, I just take some of my interfacing scrap and I just write Joann's on it, just to be sure. Okay, so let me get the top cut out, and we'll start doing that. And then I might make this tomorrow, this one with that eyelet type that I got. So, okay. So I will see you in a bit. If I don't get that video up, I'll see you tomorrow morning anyways, to either get it finished or started. We'll see. But you all have a good night. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, thumbs up. It's really helping the channel with the thumbs up. It pushes my sewing tutorials more, so that's really awesome. And you know, just have a good night, stay safe, pray for our country. We really need some prayers right now. This country is a mess. So with that, you all have a good night, and I will see you either later tonight or tomorrow.